Hola guys and girls, and welcome to the next part of the Pincer Mania. I know it was a while, but like you probably know, this series I have a lot of work to do beforehand. We need to get 3 people together, or 4 of me included, time to time, get the topics together, get some time to work on that. But that all doesn't matter now. We are back and we have an awesome panel to talk with today. First of all, you know him from the GBA, newly added coach of the Newcastle United to the GBA. Just this season, draft just happened. We got Sam. Say hello to people.
Hello, everybody.
Next up, you know him maybe from the GPC, the league I'm analyst from, and the league where I originate from, coach of the, what's the name? Sunflora, what's the name? Phoenix Sunflora.
Phoenix Sunflora.
Yeah, Phoenix Sunfloras, there we go. RizzyPOW.
Yo, what is up?
And last but definitely not least, the first girl in this series I can introduce. She's the coach of the Ekring Sandler in PPL D2. Ellie, say hello to people.
Hi!
Oh god.
Waves at camera that isn't being recorded.
Too late, it's recorded. Now it's on recording. But okay, we can hop right into the first topic for this Pincer Mania, which is none other than best poison type in League format. And starting off, Ellie, what was your pick and why?
Oh, okay, starting with the best I see. Well, from my personal experience, I would argue that Roserade is one of, if not the best poison type in the League format. Simply because it has so many options to offer. It can be a very good wall breaker with Technician Hidden Powers, really valuable in League format. It can offer spikes, sleep powder, and a cleric roll, and it can just generally hit really hard.
Okay, there we go. Roserade, the hard-hitting flower. Next up, Sam. What do you got for us?
I have got Nidoqueen, the staple of Newcastle United's recent season in PPL, and this thing is a monster. It's so good because it has great natural bulk, but with the sheer force ability, it also hits very hard on both the physical and special sides, in which it both has a massive move pool, which is so important in Draft League because you can have any coverage that you want. So it's fantastic in that regard, as well as being a very reliable Stealth Rock user and Toxic Spike user, which again is brilliant support for a team. And it gives you a ground type, which gives you the electric type immunity, which is super important to prevent Bolt Turn tactics against you. This thing is so reliable and so great, and I absolutely love it. And yeah, it can be a wall breaker, it can be a bulky wall, bulky attacker. All the support that it has, it's just so valuable in my opinion, and the best poison type. Especially seeing as though in valued drafts, it's generally quite cheap for what it does. I think it's always going to be one of the most useful Pokemon that can be brought most weeks. Yet it's normally sitting in the middle kind of value range, which is incredible for what you get with it. So that's why I think it's the best to draft.
There we go, Nidoqueen, MVP of the Newcastle United. And last, Rizzy, what is your pick and why?
Alright, my pick is Gengar, and I think this is the best poison type in League format, just because it destroys teams with its double stab plus coverage moves. It doesn't have many counters at all, and its counters are relatively easy to pressure with rocks and other kind of stuff. Just because of its amazing move pool, its normal counters can be countered in League format. Like, you can run Icy Wind for stuff like Gliscor, you can run T-Bolt or Psychic for Tentacruel or something like Mega Venusaur. It also has, besides just being completely offensive, it has sort of a defensive role. Like with Black Sludge, you can always run stuff like Sub to dodge statuses or Sucker Punches, and you can run Sub Whisk to help check mons like Bisharp. It also has a great move pool for stall, like a very good stall breaking move pool, like with Taunt and Pain Split to help versus stuff like Chansey. And then you can also run Sub Disable, which helps versus stall and even balance. So yeah, and I also Destiny Bond is another thing that you can use to get a surprise kill if you want. You can always run like Focus Sash plus Destiny Bond, and yeah, that's why I think it's the best mon in League format.
Okay, there we go. You heard all 3 opinions on what I picked and why. Now starting in the second part of this first round, which is basically defending or talking the other picks down, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, Ellie, why is Roserade superior than the other 2?
It's got a good speed tier. It's not an electric immunity, but it can switch in on electric types and hit it back hard. Although Nidoqueen does have that ground stab, of course. Neither of those can put things to sleep, and sleep in league format, is very, very valuable because it can pressure an opponent's team. And Technician Hidden Powers are really, really, really handy. Because a lot of things, you have to run Hidden Power for a lot of things. If you have a certain threat on an opponent's team, you have to check that threat offensively, and Hidden Power is usually the best way to go outside of normal coverage. So Natural Cure is also really useful as well, in case you don't want to pack a Cleric that week. So, yeah.
Okay, these are the things going for Roserade. Sam, what Nidoqueen has, what other don't, or why are these people wrong with what they just said?
Well, if you want to miss sleep powders, then pick Roserade. It doesn't need to have Technician boosted Hidden Powers because Nidoqueen already has powerful move pool with like Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower. It gets base 90 versions of the Hidden Powers that Roserade tends to run anyway, plus it gets the sheer force boost on that and no life or recoil. So that's where Nidoqueen is superior in that respect. And in terms of both of these picks, they're both frail on the physical side. Gengar's also quite frail on the special side as well. Nidoqueen can take hits too. It's got a middling speed tier, which means it can outspeed pretty much any wall that you want it to. And it's got the bulk so that it can take on offensive threats if you choose to do it that way. I feel that Nidoqueen is much more versatile than both of these Pokemon that the others have offered, and therefore is just more valuable in terms of the draft league. I think it's the best for... You get the best bang for your buck with Nidoqueen. I really do believe that.
Okay, that was Nidoqueen. Let's hear Rizzy now. Why is Gengar better than the other two?
Alright, so you're talking about Sleep Powder and Roserade, but guess what? Gengar gets the most accurate sleep-inducing move, which is Hypnosis. So there's that. Also, one thing I didn't say is that Gengar is also a spin blocker, so that is pretty nice. It's really frail, but it can still prevent your opponent from just clicking Rapid Spin without thinking, without giving Gengar a free switch in, because it can get a kill a lot of time. It also has two key immunities, which is normal, well actually three, normal, fighting, and then ground because of Levitate. So it can switch in on those attacks, and even though it is frail, if your opponent goes for another move, it also prevents your opponent from going for them just because they don't want to give Gengar a free switch in, just because they might not have a switch in themselves for Gengar. What else? There's not really much else that I have to say, so...
Okay, there we go. Gengar with the multiple immunities to the game. And yeah, going into the last of this first round. Basically, last words you want to add. Any argument you still have on your list or in your head want to bring out. Ellie, let me hear your last thoughts on Roserade.
Well, it can live a sucker punch and doesn't get pursuit trapped for... so that's cool.
But Nidoqueen is better.
Oh, also you can use Sword Stance if you want to be really edgy and want to get style points. Sword Stance, Roserade with Technician Bullet Seed is the way to go. IMO. It also gets Dazzling Gleam, so fairies, dragons, and things I don't even know anymore. Help! But yeah, fairy coverage is helpful.
Okay, Roserade just got so much going for it, you can't remember everything, but... Okay, Sam, last thoughts on Nidoqueen.
Yeah, as I say, I think that it's just the best poison type because of its value. If we're talking draft league without value, which are they're not as much of a thing anymore, then Nidoqueen may not be the best poison type just because there are things that are better than it without the value. But because Nidoqueen is always such great value and you can always use it on every single week because of the incredible coverage and the incredible typing that it has, I really think that it's way more worth your pick than the other two suggested.
Okay, there we go, Nidoqueen, and yeah, last arguments for Gengar, if you have any.
Well, it was said that it can't live a sucker punch, but it does get subs, so it can dodge them, which is pretty cool. Yeah. It also gets a lot of cool, it gets good types, what is it, type coverage. It gets like Dazzling Gleam, Focus Blast, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. It also gets Trick, which is also pretty cool if you're running like a Scarf or Specs variant.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's all. Did I cut you out? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, doesn't seem so. Okay, these are all the arguments for Roserade, Nidoqueen, and Gengar right here. Now it's up to me to decide who I want to pick as the winner for this round. And I gotta say, I want to give this pick to this point to Nidoqueen and Sam.
Yeah,
Dang it!
Yeah.
Because most of the arguments which were made were either like, for example, Sucker Punch Pursuit and Sleep Powder stuff, or most counter arguments were actually versus Roserade or Gengar. I didn't heard much versus Nidoqueen. So like all arguments Sam made were pretty much legit. There was not anything to talk about that. On Roserade, I kind of missed the Hazard Stack option, which did not got mentioned. Yeah. But so I can't count that. And yeah, Gengar of course is like in general the bigger offensive threat. But I think I would want to like hear more about like that's the speediest of them all. It can outspeed a bunch of stuff. You did go well onto what else it can do with sub-split, sub-disable, shenanigans and everything, but Nidoqueen, like I said, they are way too many, like basically all of the leagues are value-based. There are like a few, like 1 or 2 leagues out there which I can call from my head, which aren't working with some kind of tiering or something like that. So I gotta agree that Nidoqueen is definitely worth its money, and yeah, that's why I want to give this point to Sam Nidoqueen.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, this was second round. It's first point for Sam, but we have still 2 rounds to go, so each of the other ones can still catch up or even win the whole thing. So let's hop right into the next round. And in which we talk about the best physical wall breaker in League format. And Sam just won, Ellie started last time, so Rizzy, let's see your thoughts and what do you pick and why?
Alright, so the best physical wall breaker that I chose is Mamoswine. And Mamoswine is a really solid ground type and is very offensive. Its double stab destroys teams, and it has coverage moves like Superpower and Knockoff, and can even run Freeze Dry. And even though it's a physical wall breaker, it doesn't need to invest in any special attack to be able to do damage with it. It can still run Adamant. So that's just one thing. It's not like even though it's special, but it has great priority in Ice Shard. Like really strong priority as well if you're running like a Band or Life Orb, and even if you're not, it still hits hard. It even has potential setup with Curse, like a certain member in the PPL. It has a good ability in Thick Fat, which allows it to switch into electric types like Manectric, and then it can get a free kill. So yeah.
Okay, that is Mamoswine, the strong double stabs and electric immunity. Next up, yeah, Ellie, what did you pick and why?
I picked Haxorus for a number of different reasons. If that thing sets up an SD, a Dragon Dance, you are in a lot of trouble. Not only does it have Mold Breaker for those levitating users, which can come in really handy, it also has Unnerve, which is really, really good in League format, because most things that switch into a Dragon type are fairies, and because Haxorus gets access to the move Poison Jab, and if you're running Unnerved, the fairy cannot eat its Kebia Berry, and therefore will not take, it will still take super effective damage from the Poison Jab, so that's a really nice thing to have in its arsenal. It has a lot of coverage. It has Quake Edge, if I remember correctly, and Stab Outrage is definitely something that can just hit like a trap. It makes a decent Scarfer as well if you want to cat things off guard, and it just wreaks havoc if you get up a Dragon Dance, so yeah.
Okay, that was Haxorus. Next up, Sam, what is your pick and yeah, what does
so I picked the powerhouse Crawdon. This thing I think is such a shame because it goes undrafted quite a lot of the time purely because people like their bulky waters and then don't want 2 water types in their draft, which is sort of thinking that I don't really agree with fully. But this thing is such a powerhouse purely because it's high base attack stat and access to the ability Adaptability, which powers up its really high base power moves to start with. It gets Knockoff, which is one of the best moves in the game because it is base 97.5 power after the item boost, and he gets Adaptability on that, which doubles its power, and the opponent loses an item, so they won't be getting lefties if they try to switch in. And also, it gets Crab Hammer, which is base 100 power, which goes to 200 power with the adaptability boost. There is very little that can take these stabs on. What is also great about it is it gets 2 types of setup in Swords Dance and SD, so you can adjust that to what you need. If you think you can sweep with Dragon Dance, then that's great. But if you think that it's better to break walls with Swords Dance, you can do that too. So yeah, I really like this Pokemon for that reason. Fairy types can't take these knockoffs because if they take the Crab Hammer, that's going to be a 2-hit KO in most cases. It's just very, very strong stab moves, very frightening, and I think that it's really there to be feared by everybody. So I like Crawdon a lot for this.
There we go, that was Crawdon, and yeah, going to the second part of this round, Rizzy, why is Mamoswine actually superior than the other two?
Well, unlike the other two, Mamoswine actually can switch into some mons because it has quite a bit of bulk. Also at Crawdon, even though it does get Dragon Dance, it's still, after a Dragon Dance, it's still super slow, and even with a Swords Dance or just without any boosts, it's like really slow anyway. Even though it does have priority, it's still overall really slow. And even though a Haxorus can get a Swords Dance or Dragon Dance up, it can be stopped by a Mamoswine with Ice Shard. So that's pretty cool.
Okay, Mamoswine beats Haxorus, we got that already. So yeah, Ellie, Haxorus, why it's better than the other?
Not only is it a just massive smack to the face, it is also a taunt user. It can get rid of any annoying clerics or any annoying wish dwellers. It can also be sub-SD set, which is amazing. Unfortunately, it doesn't have enough HP to facilitate Seismic Toss at level 50, I think. I may be wrong. But it also gets Brick Break as well, which can get rid of screens, which can also be really annoying. And it just gets really good coverage. And like I say, fairies cannot switch into it, which is usually what you would switch in on a dragon type. As Riz's argument against Ice Shard, bro, I can have a Yachi Berry. You can't have a fire berry fighting berry thing because I have a nerve, bro. So 1v1 me, IMO. But yeah, that's my argument for Haxorus.
Okay, we already got some challenges thrown out. Crawdon, yeah, why is it better than the other two?
So I'm going to be really specific with this because we were told about this being the best physical wall breaker. So those are the 2 criteria that I went on. I want to first dispute Mamoswine's offer of Freeze Dry because that is not a physical move, and we were told that that is the main thing. So, so Mamoswine, you can't have Freeze Dry, you're going to struggle against those bulky waters. I also want to say that it doesn't matter if we're particularly slow in this because we are breaking walls. We are not trying to sweep, even though Crawdon probably stands a better chance than Mamoswine at sweeping. It's not about sweeping. It's about hitting the hardest, which I believe Crawdon does. Nothing is immune to knockoff. Nothing is immune to knockoff. So there aren't really great switch-ins. Even if they have the berry, they can eat the berry. But even without an item, Crawdon's knockoff does huge damage just because of that adaptability. If things are faster than it, you can run speed. Crawdon can go jolly and still hit like a truck. Its knockoff is more powerful than Mamoswine's Earthquake, and Haxorus has to worry if it wants to go for Outrage, which I still am not sure if it's more powerful than Crawdon's knockoff. I don't think it will be, but even if it is, there are immunities for that, which you can't risk going for an Outrage. So I think that Crawdon's stabs are actually the most powerful out of these 3 offered, and because of adaptability and the potential of Swords Dance, I think that it is the best wall breaker here. And also, Ellie said about taunt, all 3 of these Pokemon get taunt, so that isn't a particularly good argument there.
It's the better taunt user because it's bulkier, so...
It's Crawdon isn't even that frail. If you look at stats, it is more frail than the other 2, but it can take hits if it needs to. All you need to do is EV to outspeed walls, and then the rest can go in HP. So that's something else to consider.
Sam, you should fight me at EGX.
Crawdon does get some coverage as well in the form of superpower and things like that, so that can help breaking specific walls as well. So I think it's a really cool Pokemon, and I think it's a great wall breaker, and that's why I picked it.
Okay, these are the counter arguments for everything what just got said, so let's hear the last thoughts on these mons. So Rizzy, any last argument? Why is Mamoswine better? Why is this thing worse? And yeah, basically anything you want to say.
Well,
That's confidence speaking there, right there.
well, also, Sam said that all three of us get taunt. Actually, Mamoswine doesn't get taunt.
Oh, that's
Which
cool.
is an argument against myself, but I'm just saying.
Okay, nice. Okay, the mon already does, but just throw some jabs at the debater here. Okay, I can respect that. Okay, yeah. Last thoughts on Hexorus, Ellie.
It also gets access to Sword Dance, so it can also have that option of setting up, and it also gets Dig. So there you go. It also gets Stab, Jewel Drop as well. So in case you want to break any sashes like Alakazams, because I know they're pesky, it does get access to Jewel Drop, and I have had the memeiest of memes of experience of using that move, and it can come in handy in League format for that reason. But yeah, Haxorus just likes to smack things in the face, and it may have an immunity, but because of the Unnerve, that don't matter. It don't need Stab Outrage. All it needs is Unnerve and an SD. So, nah.
Okay, these were last thoughts on Hexorus, and yeah, Sam, any more arguments for Crawdaunt?
Yeah, I want to just throw one final thought into the mix. We're talking about wall breaking. If you want to cripple walls, you can run Banded, Crawdaunt, and then switch your band onto the wall. That's going to really cripple them. So that's just one final thought for Crawdaunt.
That's very true.
Okay, nice. There we got all the thoughts, and yeah, like I can't let Mamoswine in that last. you nailed, you put your last nail in the coffin yourself already with the argument you made versus yourself, basically.
That's one.
So it's up to Crawdaunt and Hexorus, and yeah, Sam is basically right. It was about wall breaking, so we don't have to like the arguments for sweeping. I can respect them because that's basically another plus point what cannot do, but that's not the main focus on what this round is about. And yeah, one other thing I just want to notice, Hexorus actually doesn't get Edgequake, it only gets Rock Slide.
No, Rock Slide, yeah.
But it's basically, it's the same coverage, just a bit weaker.
Pretty much.
So,
yeah.
And yeah, I gotta say, even though I would love to give now one point, I have to get this down point to Sam again. He made the best arguments for his mon, which is Crawdaunt.
Damn it, Sam! Stop being good at everything!
Like, even though I just drafted it, I actually didn't knew yet that it gets switcheroo. I just looked it up, and nice. Thanks for ideas, Sam.
Nice.
Use it versus Sam.
The knowledge.
Yeah.
Use it versus Sam.
Yeah, now you have to be prepared. Something will get some weird item from my Crawdaunt. You have to be prepared. Yeah. Legging Tail Crawdaunt OP. But okay, this is the second round. Yeah, that's the reason why I had to give a second point to Crawdaunt. So nothing is. I mean, Sam is definitely ahead, and we have only one more round to go. But it wouldn't be the first time that I give multiple points in one round. But Sam is definitely ahead. If we are not playing for the champion of this episode right now, it's still. We are battling for place 2 between Rizzy and Ellie. And yeah, let's hop right into the last round of this. And probably from my side, the most entertaining and most interesting one, which is what is the worst OU Mega in League format. For all you viewers, that means not BL, only straight OU Megas. So yeah, Ellie already started, Rizzy already started, so Sam, let's start with you. What is your pick?
Okay, so I picked Mega Garchomp. Probably one of the only Megas that literally just gets a lot worse by Megaing. And the main thing there is just that it loses the speed. The difference between 102 speed and 92 speed is a 92. I need to just check that. Is that it's like you lose a massive speed tier. It's so bad. You're not outspeeding base 100s, which is so important. It is 92 speed, I was right. Yeah, so it's so crucial. Combined with it having a 4 times weakness to ice and losing speed so that more things will be able to outspeed you and hit you with ice move, that's really just poor. The other thing is that it loses a decent ability in Ruskin and gains a much less usable ability in Sandforce, just because you will have to have support for it to be able to use its ability, and drafting a Mega that requires support for it to do its job is not a good idea in my opinion. Admittedly, I just want to say this was an awesome topic, Lars, because it's really hard to argue against some decent Pokemon. I would quite like to try this thing, but I think there are so many better alternatives in terms of dragon types, because you have faster dragons that hit just as hard, because they can hold items like Life Orbs or Choice Bands, and even Garchomp itself, normal Garchomp is better because it has a better ability, it's faster, and can hold an item to allow it to hit as hard as Mega Garchomp. But then there are like better bulky dragon types that don't have quad weaknesses, like Kyurem, that's still even faster than Mega Garchomp. So I think these are all important considerations to make. I just think that it doesn't do its job, and the main thing as well is the quad weakness without the ability to hold a berry. So your opponent will always know that their quad strong attacks are going to really hurt this thing because it can't hold a berry. So those are my initial arguments, but I feel this round is going to be much more important to debate between the picks. So that's it for now, but I'll be back.
He will be back to talk about Mega Garchomp. But okay, next up, Rizzy, what was your mon of choice and why?
Alright, the worst mon in OU I think is Mega Tyranitar. So, Tyranitar, well, usually normal T-Tar is better just because it can run choice items, it can run berries, which is really important with T-Tar because it does have a lot of weaknesses, like Chople Berry would be really nice, or even Shucka. The most common set on Mega T-Tar is D-Dance, which is still not very good just because after a D-Dance it's still outsped by a lot of things because it's not terribly fast. And if you do run D-Dance, you might have to sacrifice on a coverage move that you might need to like for your opponent's team, which also makes it a shaky win condition. Common fast fighting types can easily revenge kill this thing, and it can't even be a lure for them because it can't run Chople Berry, so that's not very good with it. It also can't run Smooth Rock if you are running a Sand team, so that's another thing that takes away from it. It also doesn't have immediate power like T-Tar does. If you run a choice ban on it, it doesn't secure some tool codes that Bandit T-Tar can get, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, that's why Mega Tyranitar is the worst OU Mega in the League format. So last mon, we got Ellie. What do you choose?
Hi again. So I chose Mega Diancie. There's quite a few reasons why. First of all, upon evolving, it loses some of its natural bulk in return for some great offensive presence, of course. But obviously its ability changes to Magic Bounce, and it's not one of the best Magic Bounce users in the game because it just has so many weaknesses. It has quad weakness to Steel, and common weaknesses are Ground and Water, both of which are really common in the format in my opinion. It can be outsped by a lot of OE mons, and obviously Scarfers, and I'd say it's pretty easily revenge killed because it's got so many weaknesses, and it's kind of locked into one role. I would say it can't really go defensive because of that reason. It could be an offensive suicide lead with Stealth Rock and Explosion, but other than that I really don't see much it can offer because of the amount of weaknesses it has.
Okay, there we go. Diancie, way too many weaknesses to be any good in League format. And yeah, next up to the second round, Sam, you can start once again. Why is Mega Garchomp actually worse than the other two?
Okay, so I'd say that both the other two gain something incredibly important, incredibly useful, whereas Mega Garchomp just doesn't. It gains in both offensive stats, but regular Garchomp with a Life Orb can do that, and it gains a little bit of bulk, but in comparison to Mega T-Tar, that has incredible bulk. It has 100 HP, 150 defense, and then 120 special defense, which is boosted by Sand. So this thing is a huge tank. You say that it can be easily revenged by common electric types and stuff like that. HP fighting might not even do 50%. It's so bulky. And also, it gains in every stat. Every stat change it gets is useful, which is different to Mega Garchomp. So it gains in bulk, and it gains in offense, and it gains in speed. That speed is really important because it has the Dragon Dance set, which is better than normal T-Tar. It can Dragon Dance and then sweep, which is really good. Now, in terms of Mega Diancie, you say that it's only locked into one role, but at least it has a role that it does well and potentially better than a lot of other Pokemon. This thing has a base 110 speed. It's so fast, really hard to revenge, because a lot of priority won't kill it. Aqua Jet from very powerful mons might, but you have to outspeed it, and there aren't many things that do that. So I'd say it's really hard to revenge because it does hit so hard. It gets access to Rock Polish and Calm Mind, which is incredible, and very, very good coverage for what it needs to do. So I'd say it gains so much from Mega Evolving. It gains huge offensive stats, it gains a lot of speed, and it gains a great ability in Magic Bounce. In all of these considerations, Garchomp just doesn't do that. Mega Diancie does one role, but it does it really well. Mega Garchomp, it doesn't do any roles as well as other things that you could draft which don't take up your Mega slot, and which, yeah, it just doesn't do that. It doesn't gain from a lot of its stat changes. It is just worse. So that is my argument for Mega Garchomp. It doesn't perform any role better than another thing that you could draft.
Okay, there we go. Mega Garchomp, underwhelming for Mega. You can just draft a normal mon for that. But yeah, Rizzy, why is Mega Tyranitar worse than the other two?
Okay, well, Sam said that about electric types. I don't think I said electric types. If I said it, it was an accident. I meant to say common, fast fighting types that can't easily revenge kill it. So there's that. It can't run a Chople Berry like a normal T-Tar can as a lure, so it can't do that. Also with Mega Diancie is actually, in my opinion, I think it's really good in the format. You can, even though it has a slow speed, you can always run Protect. It has great offenses with 160 attack and special attack, which destroys teams with its double stab, and then you can always run like Hidden Power Fire or Earth Power. It also has setup options with Rock Polish and Calm Mind, which can do well versus a lot of teams, and it's a nice rock type, which means it can be a nice bird check and switch into like some birds and then outspeed it. So that's with Mega Diancie. And with Mega Chomp, it does get some role when you do Mega Evolve it, with Sand. If you're running it in Sand, which most of the time you are if you're drafting Mega Garchomp, it gets a lot of offense. It goes from 130 to base 170 attack, and with Sand Force, it hits really, really hard. Also, once it Mega Evolves, it gets a lot more special attacks, so that's another thing, which means that it can fire off Dracos, it can fire off, like Fire Blast is actually really, really powerful with it, which can help it versus, like, stuff like Skarmory. Hit Skarmory actually really hard because it's base 120 special attack now. And it even, what other special attack does it get? I think it gets some, like, it gets like Surf. That's one thing for stuff like Hippo. Even though it also get Aqua Tail, but with 120 attack, and it doesn't get hit by Rocky Helmet if you do run Surf. So I think Mega Chomp actually does have a lot going for it once it does Mega Evolve. Maybe it's not as good as normal Garchomp, but it gets more offensive. It does get slower though. It does get a little bit more bulk as well, so you can run like a really bulky SD set. You can also run sub on it, which is pretty cool. And with Mega T-Tar, I just think that it doesn't really get much role. I know it gets more bulky, but it loses the fact that it can get leftovers once it Mega Evolves. And also, it can't run a berry, which is really, really useful on like defensive T-Tar if you want to get rocks up, because, lure and stuff, which I think is really good for T-Tar. So, yeah.
Okay, there we go. That is Mega T-Tar. So, Mega Diancie. Why are the other two better than Mega Diancie?
Well, first and foremost, Tyranitar and Garchomp can both either be physical or special attackers. They both get fantastic coverage on both sides of that. And Tyranitar is a lot bulkier because of the Sandstream ability. Its special defense is going to be boosted in that sand. And it can be a threat, it can set up. And Diancie can't really utilize that. Sure, it can Calm Mind, but a lot of special walls can deal with Diancie. Its physical move pool is extremely poor. And sure, it gains speed, but it can't really utilize it that well unless the opponent doesn't have a decent special check, which you're gonna have if you have a good drafted team. Garchomp has 170 base attack, which is the equivalent of a banded Entei. which is just insane to say that's bad, in my opinion. It loses speed, but it honestly doesn't need it with the bulk and base 170 attack, sorry, and the plethora of coverage they both get. They can all set up Stealth Rocks, but Garchomp can Dragon Tail, so it can Tyranitar. Diancie, I don't believe, can do that. The only thing Diancie really has going for it that is different from the other two is Hill Bell, and it doesn't really need that because Garchomp can be sub-SD, and same with Tyranitar, so yeah, it's just less offensively threatening, in my opinion, and it has a lot more weaknesses than the other two.
Okay, there we go. Anything you want to say?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, I think I just cut someone off. But okay, these are the counter arguments made by each of my fine debaters right here. So now going into the last round of this is, the last thoughts round. So Mega Garchomp, anything you want to add, anything you want to counter argument which got said from the other two, now's your chance.
So, just the people trying to define Garchomp's role, I see that, yes, it's got good attack and it gets better special attack, but anything that it can do, like a sub-attacking set or like a sub-SD set, another dragon will be able to do better. A mixed set, Kyurem, as I say, does it better, and it doesn't take up your Mega slot. If you want a good Mega, look elsewhere, because this is not your answer.
Okay,
that's my...
These are the last thoughts on Mega Garchomp. So, Mega Tyranitar, anything you can say to make it even worse than it already is?
It also doesn't get recovery even though it's bulky, and it is offensive, but it's still not offensive. It's not as good as like a Banded T-Tar, in my opinion. It doesn't hit as hard, and you can't write an item with it, which I think is one of the best things that you can. Like with T-Tar, I feel like its item makes or breaks it with a normal T-Tar, but you don't even get the option of running an item with Mega T-Tar. So I think it's very good, and also its typing has a lot of weaknesses and stuff, and you can't run a berry on it. So that's why I think T-Tar is the worst Mega out of the three.
Okay, so last chance to say something. Ellie, anything you want to add to Mega Diancie's list of weaknesses?
That was also another thing that I forgot to mention. Diancie is one of the only fairies that does not get reliable recovery. It doesn't even get Draining Kiss, whereas Tyranitar does get access to Drain Punch, so Diancie is looking a bit pathetic on the recovery side of things. It can't utilize setup very well, and things and stuff. The other two are just better.
The best argument,
and
things and stuff. Okay.
The thing with about what Sam said about another Mega or another Pokemon can do it better than Garchomp, that's entirely subjective, and you could say that for any Pokemon, depending on the other drafts as well. Like that statement is just entirely subjective. So yeah.
Okay, there we go. These are
also.
All... Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Also, one thing I like to say is that T-Tar does not get Drain Punch.
I swear it gets Drain Punch!
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
I'm fact-checking right now.
Well, now I feel dumb.
It doesn't get Drain Punch. No Drain Punch
for
Tyranitar.
There goes my argument. Crap.
Okay, so no one of these gets recovery. Let's just check. Yeah, okay, Diancie doesn't get Draining Kiss either. So you were right on that.
Tyranitar gets access to Thunder Wave, and it's a taunt user, so it can do lots of things.
Okay. When in doubt, just spread some yellow magic. Okay.
Yep. Just spread knowledge out your butt and hope you win.
Okay, I think we heard everything we wanted to hear about all these three Megas. I can agree that every one of these is underwhelming for an OU Mega. There are usually way better Megas out there. And yeah, now it's on me to decide who I will give this point to. And I mean, if I want to be honest, I would just give this point again to Sam, even if that's pretty destructive for the other two. It would be 3-0 for Sam with all these rounds. Because he's right, like Mega Garchomp really suffers from getting his speed lowered. 102 is a great speed here, whereas 92 is pretty underwhelming. There are a lot of monsters which outspeed that. Like all the base 100, there's so many of these around. Mega Garchomp, of course, he gets stronger, but like I already said, Garchomp with a life up can hit equally or similar hard with the life orb, be it on the special side or the physical side. Yes, it gets more bulk, which is great, but it basically doesn't gain anything which Garchomp gets. Like, it doesn't get any other option it can run. Mega Tyranitar, for example, it gets way more bulky. So, like Samurai said, even though it was unintended, he didn't set electric types, but it can take HP fightings very well. Physical fighting hits from stab fighting hits from a fast fighting type, of course, are a threat, but I mean, all of these mons have 4 times weaknesses which can be exploited, so just a fast mon which has a stab on that side is scary for each of those. And Mega Diancie, it basically, your regular Diancie is pretty bad. Mega Diancie, at least it gets better through Mega Evolving. And physical move pool is very weak, like it only has like Diamond Storm and Explosion, I think. So...
Yeah, and Gyro Ball.
And Gyro Ball.
With the 100 you know, it's going to be really hard hitting.
Yo, but Stone Edge. Wait, no, I guess Diamond. Never mind.
Okay, yeah, no one is here sure who gets what moves, I see already. All did their homework on the moveset.
We are well prepared, I promise.
Yeah. They know what they're doing in the leagues, like, I promise
Definitely.
to. I know what that they can do stuff sometimes. But okay, these are the mons. If I wanted to, like, just to make it fair, if I had to decide for 2nd and the 3rd place with this last round, I gotta say that the arguments for Mega Tyranitar were better, and I would have to give this point to Rizzy. Just so that we have like a 2nd and a 3rd place at least. But yeah, Sam took this whole episode by storm, so congratulations to Sam for winning this
Round
whole
of applause!
Congrats.
That
Sam,
was
find
like...
me at EGX.
Yeah, that was total destruction of the other 2 debaters right here.
Just got completely destructificated.
Yeah, completely destructificated. But yeah, this is all for this episode of Pincer Mania. Of course, all the links to the 3 debaters you saw right here will be in the description. Definitely check them out. They're doing good stuff in their various leagues, be it PPLD2, be it the GBA or the GBC. You can look out for those. Of course, other plethora of other good content you can find there. I can recommend only checking them out. And yeah, any last words from any 3 of you?
We are the goddamn best mass debaters you'll ever hear on the internet.
Yup.
There you go.
Sorry.
You heard it here first. But yeah, that's all from me. I will see you another time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.